Hey everybody, it's that time of year again. NFL football season. Oh yeah. You know, I love this time of year. Um, I love this time of year because you get a break from that heat, and football season's coming, holidays are coming, and the mornings get cooler and colder, and in the morning coffee tastes bolder, and get the game on. It's I love this time of year. And what I like about fall, not just football. Fall is a fun time for sports, especially October, because you get the three major sports. You get NFL, of course, and, football, college. You get the NBA, basketball starting up, and then there's the Major League Baseball. So you got the three major sports going on in the month of October. And I love the cool air. You get a break from the heat, like I was saying, and you get the fall programs, the holidays, get-togethers. It's a fun time of year. But I love football, and there's some things you don't know about me as far as a football fan goes. But I will tell you this: I am a Duck on Saturdays and a 49er on Sundays or Mondays or whatever. Um, but yeah, I'm all excited about tomorrow's game. Tomorrow's game is going to be very interesting because if you look at both teams are kind of in similar situations. The Ducks, or excuse me, Ducks, the 49ers and the Buccaneers, um, those two teams are kind of in a similar situation. They're both building for the future. Both defenses weren't that great last year, and they're building on their defenses. So it'll be an interesting game, and I think it's going to be a close game. I know that some fans are saying we're going to go in there and stomp all over Tampa Bay. I don't think it's going to happen that way. Oh, by the way, I'm wearing my Nick Bosa jersey because he's going to play tomorrow, um, and so is Verrett. Um, but I think I think it's going to be a good, it's going to be an interesting game, and usually when games are close like this, you have to go in there and not lose opportunities. When the opportunities are there, you take advantage of those opportunities instead of like for instance, when you get in the red zone, got to score, got to cross the goal line, got to get the touchdowns. Can't keep settling for field goals. Another thing they got to eliminate is stupid penalties. I noticed in one of those preseason games they had a night full of penalties. Can't do that. Can't do that. Especially when it's for real. Also, can't turn the ball over because if this is a close game and we turn the ball over, have untimely penalties, not scoring in the red zone, these were some of the things that haunted us last year, and those things were, there were games last year we should have won, and we didn't take advantage of it because of those missed opportunities. The defense should be playing better this year. I think they're going to be a better defense, and they got to go out and play like it. And another thing too is I always believe this, and a lot of people will say differently that when you lose your first game, I hear people say, well, it's just the first game. But you know what? To me, I think winning that first game is important. And the reason why I believe it's important is because if you get your first win, that means that means if you lose the week after that, you're still 1-1 and you're still considered in good shape that early in the season. But if you get off to an 0-2 start, statistically, a lot of teams haven't made the playoffs starting off at 0-2, and it's not good morale for the team either. So I always believe getting that first win out of the way in week one is important. So if you lose in the second week, you're still in good shape, and so that's going to be important, especially when you look at after I think that the Buccaneers and the Cincinnati games are winnable. So I don't want us to lose either one of those games um, because after that, the schedule gets tougher. You have the Steelers and all these other teams down the road. So I think it's important that we try to get off to a good start. Jimmy Garoppolo, all eyes are going to be on Jimmy Garoppolo. But this is the thing, though. If the 49ers lose tomorrow, a lot of Jimmy G haters are going to blame him for it. There's a lot of hateful Jimmy G haters out there right now. And, if you look at the 49er fan base, they're divided about the quarterback situation. You got one half of the fans that are on the Nick Mullins train, and then you have the other half that are, hopeful for Jimmy G, and what he's going to do in his career, and see the, and hopefully they think they want to see the Jimmy G that they saw at the end of 2017. So, fans are really divided on this right now. But I think that we have to just go out and execute the best we can, and play the best we can, and try it, because this could very well be a close game. But with mistakes and errors and penalties and all these things, Tampa Bay could pull away. Nick Bosa and Barrett are coming back. Hurd, he's out. There's some guys that are out, some guys coming back. One concern I do have, though, is the offensive line. I mean, I know there's been a lot in the news lately made out about our offensive line. Not being what you know, being a little weak, not much depth, and that's important to stay healthy, especially in that area, because Jimmy G, he's playing. You don't want your top quarterback getting hurt, and that could happen. So Jimmy Garoppolo has just got to go out there and do the best he can, because I think he has the attributes. I think that he has the I think he can get. I think he's got that in him. He can do it. He has that. God, what's the word I want to use? I'm trying to think of it. Kind of slipped out of my head. But he just has that abilities. He has the ability. He just has to go out and execute it and do the best he can. And we'll see what happens. Um, he has the potential. That's the word I'm trying to use. The potential. And and another thing too is I'm really excited about Matt Breida. I mean, you know what I like about Matt Breida? I mean, there aren't too many. When in drafts, you'll see teams like Dallas Cowboys. They get Ezekiel Elliott. The Rams. They get Todd Gurley. You know, um, the Giants. They get Barkley. As far as running backs go, and these are names that are big names in the draft. Names that everybody knows about. And but Matt Breida, there wasn't a whole lot of talk about him in the draft. When he was in college and stuff like that. I mean, not like the other guys, the other the elite running backs in the league. But you know what I see? I see a star. I see a star starting to form with him. I mean, he has great bursts of speed, and he just reminds me of Sanders, who played for the Lions. He's not a real big guy, but he has the ability to really he has good speed. When he finds an open field, boy, he can really put the yards on there. And I think that we're going to be in for we could have a good year. I really believe it. We just have to play as good as we possibly can. And tomorrow, I hope Nick Bosa and that defense, and all those guys, they go after Winston. They try to take him down. They got to get in his face early. They got to use that pass rush. The pass rush is important too, because a lot of people say that our secondary is a question mark. So I would say that right now our strongest point on defense is our defense, our pass rush, linebackers and defensive linemen. Those are the things that are important, that are working. I think will work really well, and it'll help the secondary out too, the pass rush, I believe. But we got to go into that game tomorrow, and we got to take care of business. I am a little bit nervous about it, you know, because I'm tired of losing. You know, the way last season ended, we had that terrible loss, or all those losses that we had. I don't want to go through that again. I mean, mentally and emotionally, I mean, that's just not good on the fan base when your team just loses and loses and loses and loses. And when that happens, you sometimes try to forget it, by seeing a movie or whatever to just get your mind off it. But I don't want it to get to that point. You know, I want us to go out and I want us to take care of business. They got to do it. And John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, this could be a make or break year for them. I mean, I'm not saying that they're going to lose their jobs at the end of the season, but if you think about it, they got what 6-year contracts. They're halfway through their contracts, so this has got to be a winning season. Because if it's they're losing season, a lot of losses. What's going to be said then was there's been no improvement. They just haven't turned that corner. They just are the same team that they are when he took over. I mean, people will say that. And right now we don't get respected by the media. The media, they always want to talk about the Cowboys and the Seahawks and those teams and the Kansas City Chiefs, Patriots. And I can understand why, because those teams have been really successful lately. But the only way we're going to get attention and respect again is we've got to start winning games. We cannot go into these games making mistakes and stuff like that. I don't. I'm probably going to go out to see the game because it's not being televised here. I'm going to go out and see it, and I don't like sitting at a table, glum, watching my team lose. I want to go when I go out. I want to have a good time. I'm sick and tired of sitting at a table and watching my team lose. I don't like that. And then there's other news in the NFL. Antonio Bryant is now a New England Patriot. Can you believe it? I mean, I would have thought that Belichick would be smarter than that. I mean, what Antonio Brown has shown is that he's not. He can't stay focused. He can't be a part of the program. He has shown this time and time again. And who knows? Maybe to get out of Oakland, he started this whole helmet controversy just to get out of Oakland. And who knows? If he still doesn't want to, be even in New England, he'll bring up the helmet controversy there about what kind of helmet he can wear. I'm glad. You know what? I'm glad we didn't get him. I'm glad we didn't get him. We don't need that. We don't need that kind of distraction. Not when we're trying to turn the corner. I'm glad we didn't get him. I probably would have. I would have preferred, Odell Beckham Jr. because I don't really hear any controversies about him. I think he's hurt though, but I like to. I think the receivers that we got they will develop into really good running receivers, and I think we'll see what happens tomorrow. We're gonna, I think we can win. I think we win. We just gotta not make mistakes, or at least limit them. And yeah, so these games are going to be interesting. And I don't know why the league gives us a tough schedule every year. I mean, granted, these teams that we're playing, didn't have winning records. Most of them didn't have winning records last year, and you'd have to believe that. Well, it's an easy schedule, but here's the thing, though: those teams have probably improved, and and if we don't show improvement, they could be incapable of beating us. So that's really important. And we're in a division where you can't lose many games. You can't afford to lose many games because you're in a division with the Rams, the Seahawks. I'm not scared of the Cardinals. I think that they're not there yet. But those other teams we have to compete with, and that's going to be important. We got guys returning. I think it was Vegas or ESPN had us winning 11, 11-5. They ran a simulation, and we ended up with 11-5, but we got thrashed in the first game. And then I think towards the end of the season, we think we lose 3 games in a row. So I don't, because when they have the losses on there, they show us getting blown out in a lot of those losses, and I have to think that our defense is good enough to keep the scores close. One thing a simulation can't do is, you know, simulate injuries. They're just going by what the 49ers have, you know, and what those other teams have. So, but you can't always go by that. But it's interesting simulation. We just got to go out. I'm nervous. I'm really nervous. I just, like I said, I believe that very first game is important. And yeah, so we got to go out and we got to win that game. It's really there's you know first, to me, the first victory is important. It sets things up. If you lose next, if you win this week and lose next week, you're still considered in good shape. But 0-2, statistically, most teams don't make the playoffs, and certainly don't win the division. So for us to compete, we got to keep pace with those other teams that I just mentioned. So that's how it's going to be, and it's going to be interesting, to see Alexander go back to play his old team again. I'm sure that he's given our team a lot of insight about Tampa Bay, and I'm sure that he's going to want to go out there and win that game because it's an emotional game for him. He returns back to Tampa Bay to play his team, and it's going to be a hot, humid day. I hope they have the swamp coolers or those things they have on the sidelines with a cool mist. We got to have those. It's going to be a hot, probably muggy day. And you got to figure. San Francisco kind of comes from a city that's cool. I mean, they get warm days, but they also get a lot of cool days too. And I think they were preparing for that. They set up a tent or whatever and had us played inside a sauna kind of atmosphere. But hey, I look at it this way too. Tampa Bay, they they may be used to it a little bit, but they're humans too, and they got to experience that discomfort as well. But yeah, I think I say we win, and I think my score would be. I think it's going to be a close game. I would say probably my score would be 24-17. We win. We win by a touchdown. Either 24-17 or 24 to 23, something like that, or 24 to 21. I think it's going to be a close game, and we'll see what happens. But that's it. That's all I got. And everybody, take care. And I know I didn't do a video after the last preseason game, but I figure there wasn't really much to talk about since the backups were playing. But and by the way, Nick Mullins has been named number 2 quarterback. That's great news, and that's what should have happened. I'm sure Shanahan learned his lesson from last year. That you don't, you can't go by who you like. You got to go by who performs the best. And last year, when Jimmy went down, they put in CJ, and things got worse. So I feel comfortable knowing that Mullins is behind Jimmy, because when you have a quarterback like that, if your starting quarterback goes down, your offense is going to miss, is not going to really miss much of a beat because, and Mullins knows the playbook really well. Most experts believe that his the way he plays fits that system very well. But we'll see what happens tomorrow. I'm praying for Jimmy G to have a good game. I'm certainly praying for him not to get hurt. We don't need that again, and it doesn't do any good to pay a guy so much money and then have 2 seasons back to back where he misses the entire season with a contract like that. And McKinnon, got hurt again. God, I can't believe he must have a really weak knees to have back to back problems with his ACL. I mean, it's just weird. It's like, well, if I can use this analogy, it's like super glue that just doesn't work with a certain kind of surface. It just never hardens or gets better. But we'll see what happens tomorrow. That's all I got, and everybody, take care. Tomorrow is the day.